Welcome, everyone. I am Vivian Xu. I'm the founder and CEO of Lendonate. If you're new to Lendonate, we're so happy to have you. Lendonate connects investors with nonprofits that have big ideas. And together, we can make a real impact on projects that shape communities for the better. Since inception, Lendonate has helped facilitate over $80 million in financing to nonprofits, where investment capital came from accredited investors and our institutional partners. You can find more information and fun facts in our 2023 progress report on our website, including loan performance, demographics, and more. The way we do it is better than the typical crowdfunding, of course, in my humble opinion. The reason is you get to the benefit of a professional deal structure and a risk rating system that is developed by our credit committee, specifically to assess nonprofit financials. We're also committed to responsibly servicing the loans so borrowers can get to work on our projects, and the lenders will receive the repayments they're counting on. Today, we will be presenting 3 amazing nonprofits serving in the areas of education, mental health services, and solar technology. Lendonate has completed due diligence on all of them. You can find more information on the first 2 organizations on our website already, and the third one is forthcoming. Each presentation today will be approximately 15 minutes. Please use the Q&A box to submit questions throughout the presentations, and we will make sure they get answered. Our presenters would love to answer your questions as well, so let's make this interactive. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick glance to see if there are already questions out there. If not, I think without further ado then, we're going to hear from the first organization. It is my pleasure to introduce Andi Levine, the Administrative Director at Maple Village Waldorf School in Long Beach, California. I'm so glad your camera works, Andi. They are seeking financing to purchase the school building they have occupied for the past 12 years. This loan will mature in 3 years and carries a 10% interest rate per annum. The closing date for this investment is July 28th. Welcome, Andi. Please tell us about your school.
Hi, thank you so much, Vivian. Thank you, everyone, for having us on here. My name is Andi Levine, and I'm the Administrative Director at Maple Village Waldorf School. I'm also a parent here. My 10-year-old started in the parent-child class at age 2 and has gone through preschool, kindergarten, and is now heading into 5th grade, which blows my mind. My youngest started when she was only 6 weeks old in our parent-child program and is now heading to kindergarten. I am very invested in this community, both as an administrator and as a parent. If you aren't familiar with Waldorf education, it is a unique pedagogical approach to teaching, what we call the head, heart, and hands, or more commonly known as thinking, feeling, and doing. Our teachers bring the curriculum to life using various art mediums, music, and other modalities. So students are not only sitting and passively receiving the knowledge, but it really lives in them. For example, they're stomping when they're learning numbers, and it activates the brain and muscle memory, which works in conjunction with things like rote memorization and other modalities often seen in schools. Maple Village is heading into its 17th year in Long Beach, California. We've been renting our campus from a local church for all 17 years. And 17 years ago, we started with only 2 rooms. In 2020, when the congregation folded, we were able to take over the entire property, which is just shy of 12,300 square feet and sits on a 19,000 square foot lot. In 2021, the church offered to sell us the property off market, which is a dream in the California real estate marketplace. So we entered escrow in the spring of 2022. Maple Village provides more than an education for the 200 plus students that we serve. As a school, we feel that we not only hold the students, but all of the families at the center of everything that we do. And in turn, the Maple Village community finds its strengths in the relationships that are formed and fostered on campus and outside of school. Our enrollment has increased by 200% since returning from distance learning. And we want to be able to offer this education to anyone desiring it. So we spend at least 25% of our annual potential income on what we call our tuition adjustment program, so grants. We're also a nationally recognized Green Ribbon School. We're frequently voted the best early childhood in Long Beach. The accolades are numerous. I don't need to go into all of them, but at the end of the day, the school is helping to create inspired, self-confident, free-thinking individuals that value community, knowledge, creativity. They're good stewards of the earth. These are just good humans that we're trying to put out into the earth. And I feel that many companies now are really looking for these creative solution seekers, and that's exactly what we're fostering at Maple Village. It's really become a pillar in Long Beach. We're known for many of our community involvement programs. We have an annual harvest fair that really focuses on the different cultural harvest celebrations throughout the world. At the center of our work is a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So this is a safe space. All are welcome. And that's just a little bit about Maple Village in Long Beach. I'm happy to
Thanks,
take any
Andy.
questions.
Yeah, so again, please feel free to submit questions, but I do have one because in the past we've talked, numerous times about the school, and this financing really is just intended for about 3 years. How has the community and the parents responded to the fact that this is the permanent home and the renovation work and all the things that you're doing on campus?
Thank you for asking that. It's been really overwhelming. So in 2020, as with many independent schools, our enrollment dipped, and especially because we are a screen-free school, meaning we don't use media in the classroom, although it certainly is all around us. So in that sense, some families just weren't as familiar with like the distance learning modalities, and so enrollment did dip, and again it's bounced back 200%. And with that, I think because people were really seeing that they wanted something different for their students, for their children, and also the social emotional aspects that Waldorf education is able to address, the families really got behind it. So we've had our strongest development that we've ever had in our history. We've raised over $300,000 quite quickly for capital funds, and all of the renovations that went into it last summer, and then a few more for this summer. It's so adorable when families who've been there for a while, they come in and they're like blown away because they couldn't come on campus during 2021, and then they returned this past year. They're just really blown away by all of it, which then just kind of helps them open up their pocketbooks a little bit more. We also have hired a development team, and so they've also been working on helping us achieve some grants and different avenues to increase our fundraising. So it's well within our capabilities to be able to pay back this loan within 3 years, and all of our projections are really strong. Our early childhood program, we've been investing a lot into our early childhood, which is of course the pool from which we grow the rest of the grades. So into grade 1, 2, 3, and so on, all the way to 8th grade. So we're opening up a third preschool because the demand is just that large for next year. So we really have a strong future ahead.
Yeah, clearly. Can you describe kind of the student size relative to the capacity of the building? Do you have room to grow? Do you anticipate, needing more building space in the future? What does that look like?
Yeah, so because of the third preschool, we're actually relocating our parent-child program, which has also grown tremendously. It used to meet twice a week, or there were 2 classes that you could go to. And now there's 2 classes per day, 5 days a week. That's just how many people are really looking for this environment. So we're moving that off campus into another church location, actually, as renters for a very, very low market price, which we're really excited about having that partnership. But so that helps create a little bit more capacity for things like this third preschool. And then the classrooms, some of them, I would say that 2 or 3 of them are pretty close to capacity, and that the rest have at least anywhere from, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 more students to up to like 8 students more that could fit in that classroom. So there is some room to grow in our current building. My long-term goals are to have 2 separate campuses, but that's probably putting the cart before the horse, and let's get through this first. But there's definitely room to grow. We really want to be able to offer this education, like I said, to anybody who wants it. So we will make the space, and we're pretty creative with the space as it is.
Yeah, I can attest to how everyone is so dedicated. I remember the first time we talked, how long ago has it been? It's been a while because for those who actually have initially already demonstrated support of the project, knew that we had to pause your campaign for a little bit because of some building permit challenges, but that's all been resolved. And then I have seen your office transform the background when it's real background from maybe truly like a corner to now the office looks amazing.
Thank you.
I know that along the way, so many people have come in to help. So maybe I'll just wrap it up with one more question.
Sure.
If there's one takeaway you want potential investors to go away with, what would that be?
I think that the impact that this community has for each individual family, and then that ripple effect that it has into the community at large, is massive. If we, to put in short, if we don't secure this building, which it's all heading towards closing escrow in mid-August. But if we were not to secure this building, if we were to for some reason lose it, the impact would be huge. It would be 200 plus students without a place to call like a second home, really. And without that family that we've built, I think the community part of it would in some ways live on, but without the enrichment of the Waldorf education that we're able to offer. And again, just even as a parent, the effect that this school has had on on just my family, and I can only imagine for the 150 plus other families that go to school here, it's really shifted the entire dynamic of our family. It has taught me as a human, as an adult, I think just as much as it's teaching my child. So the impact of a loan like this really is much more widespread than just buying a building. It's really about upholding and supporting a community that's doing really good things out in the world.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing the history of the school and all that you're doing with us. We appreciate you, and thanks for joining us. I don't see any questions, but if we do, I'll reach out to you and then connect again.
Great, thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Happy summer.
Happy summer.
Thanks. Okay, so let me see. I'm going to just take a quick look. I don't think we had any questions. So then I will move forward to our next presenter. Cari Teran, founder and CEO at Healing to You in Southern California. For over 20 years, Cari has worked in a clinical capacity as program director for community mental health agencies serving children and their families exposed to abuse and trauma. Healing to You is seeking $750,000 for a 1-year bridge to grant loan. This investment closes on August 21st. Cari, welcome. Please tell us about Healing to You and what are you working on? Beautiful plants, by the way.
Thank you, Vivian. Hopefully you all can hear me okay.
Yes.
So we are a new nonprofit. We were founded in 2022. I have 25 years of experience in mental health services, community mental health, program development, and implementation. I started as a clinician and started with domestic violence organizations as a young intern, and in the 90s ended up developing one of LAPD's first emergency programs of emergency response that partnered with a domestic violence shelter in Santa Monica. And we had advocates who would kind of partner up with police officers and UCLA emergency room, and we would be able to respond to calls to be able to secure services, help a victim and her children to get into shelter or hotels, and connect with legal resources. So I'm quite familiar with implementation of new programs. After I was working in the domestic violence shelters, I realized I needed to finish my hours for my clinical license, and dove into clinical work and ended up overseeing some programs for school-based mental health community agencies. And throughout 20 years, ended up seeing the same types of cases, a lot of domestic violence. I have specialties in children's sexual abuse and child abduction, reunification, recovery. I am part of the California Child Abduction Task Force under the governor's office. And through that appointment, I became aware of a grant, a significant grant, to provide medical services and COVID testing to domestic violence shelters. The grant was through the American Rescue Plan, and so the dollars have trickled down to the state. We wrote the grant last fall, and in April, we were notified that we were awarded the service area for San Diego County, Orange County, and Riverside County. So we are the official domestic violence mobile medical and mental health services for those 3 counties. The total grant is just under 6.9 million. And our only hiccup is that it's a reimbursement only grant. And so we've got a very large pot of money to spend down from, but we have to spend some money and earn some, or fundraise some money to be able to pull down from that pot. So what we have designed for this program is to serve 3 counties. We have 2 38-foot mobile health clinics, and each mobile health clinic has 3 rooms. So there's an initial waiting room that our residents, patients can enter onto the clinic. And then we have a medical assistant and a site coordinator that can help transition patients, take vital signs, things like that. We have a nurse practitioner in one room who provides all of our medical care, and that includes adult and pediatric primary health care, COVID-19 testing and vaccines. Because we are working with domestic violence, we also provide injury documentation and forensic exams, which is a specialty that can be hard to come by. We do rapid testing for glucose, cholesterol, A1C, hemoglobin, and pregnancy. We do EKGs, vital signs, prescription medication. One of the challenges with domestic violence shelter residents is they might be fleeing an abusive situation and unable to take their antidepressants or their medication. So our nurse practitioner can make sure that there's consistency with prescription management. We provide school physicals and pediatric immunizations. A lot of times when residents are in domestic violence shelters, even though the stay is only 30 to 45 days, the children still get enrolled in the school that's nearby. And oftentimes they need an updated school physical and vaccinations. So that is a big service gap for domestic violence shelters. And we're very happy to fill in gaps that are needed. Our 3rd room on the bus provides a children's therapeutic space where we have a licensed mental health clinician who can provide different levels of mental health services based on what the domestic violence shelters need. We don't want to step on any toes, but some shelters don't have any mental health support, and other shelters might have one licensed supervisor with some interns. So we want to make sure that we are working collaboratively with the shelters, and if they only need what I call mental health light, where we're just providing a supportive environment while folks are in transition, So if the parent is getting a medical exam or maybe some injury documentation, that we have mental health clinician that is there to play with the children, help them process their feelings, or just regulate some anxiety that they might be feeling as they're transitioning. Our mental health specialists are also trained in early childhood development assessments and screenings. So one thing that we notice is families who are living with domestic violence are not seeking out regular medical appointments or pediatric care due to the coercive control in the relationships. And so these residents in shelters are often lacking in preventative healthcare or early childhood developmental screenings. So an infant or toddler might be maybe falling behind a little bit on either physical development and coordination or social emotional development. And so this population of domestic violence survivors are very overly exposed to trauma, as well as lacking in healthcare services. So they're at a greater risk of having long-term chronic health issues. So we feel like this is a major important service that is severely lacking. My experience in the shelters from the 90s and early 2000s, as well as from what I'm hearing still currently, is that when a resident goes to a shelter, they go through the intake process. A lot of times they're coming in and maybe their child has an ear infection, or maybe they haven't had a COVID vaccine and they need one. Maybe their abuser has not allowed them to go to the doctor, and so now they've got to follow up with some things. Oftentimes, the residents have to go to the local urgent care or emergency rooms. And if you've ever been into an emergency room, you know that can take 10 to 12 hours sometimes. And for a family leaving sometimes a hostage-like situation where everything is controlled, every movement, every phone call, to have to sit 12 hours in an emergency room with so much trauma around you can be really stressful and more traumatizing, but also opens up the shelter for more virus and illness risk, because then the family is exposed to whatever's in the emergency room and they're bringing it back to the shelter. So when we first heard about this grant opportunity, we thought this was a dream, and what a wonderful way to be able to provide even more. The grant was initially for just a COVID testing and vaccine clinic, but I thought, I can't roll into a shelter without mental health services and without these developmental screenings. So since we've even written the grant, we've conceptualized even more. We want to make sure that we have infant massage education. I'm a certified infant massage educator and a specialist in 0 to 5 mental health. So I've worked with foster children, infants and toddlers, and helped them work through their trauma. And using child-parent psychotherapy, which is an evidence-based psychotherapy treatment model, it is a wonderful modality to use with young children and adults who are living in domestic violence shelters. Our long-term goal is to stop the cycle of violence, and we're hoping that with early intervention services and filling in some gaps and meeting the needs of these survivors, that we're hoping that maybe they won't go back, or that they might be able to start a fresh start, and that maybe the children won't continue the cycle and make some different choices in their relationships. We also partner with a couple other of our nonprofit friends. We partner with the Joyful Child Foundation in memory of Samantha Runyon, and they put on brave safety and empowerment workshops. And so they're putting together a specialized lesson for us that we can play like a video that is specific for domestic violence. In child abduction, 95% of all children missing are parental or family abduction. And 100% of those cases involve domestic violence. So we have a unique opportunity to impact and hopefully prevent any future parental abductions by being able to provide this information through workshops with our families. We also partner with Power of One Self-Defense Institute in Long Beach, and they provide safety and empowerment workshops for our staff and the residents, where they come out once a month, and we set up space. And one of the local shelters might help us with their conference room, and they provide not necessarily self-defense, but just more empowerment. How can we stand in our power, use our words, say no? And they also figure out like safe words in case they're with their abusive parent or have exposure to them and they need to reach out to their safe parent. So what we are asking for, like I said, we have almost 6.9 million sitting waiting for us. Our mobile clinics are in the process of being built by Mission Mobile Medical, and they had so much faith in us that they started this build without their usual down payment. So our mobile clinics are costing us 1.4 million, and typically they would have us do 400,000 down, and they waived that, and it's in the demo process right now. I just got pictures yesterday. So it's very exciting. And so we are looking for a bridge loan to help us pull down from our grant expenses and also put a down payment to our mobile clinics, because they've been so amazing in having faith for us. We have an anticipated launch date of October 1st. So our mobile clinics have a delivery date of September 15th, and we're really hoping to get them a down payment before we get delivery. And then for next year, we plan on applying as a federally qualified health center, which would enable us to apply for some Human Resources Services Administration grant funding for sustainability, and we would also be able to get free vaccines, which would save a lot of our operating expenses under our vaccine line item.
Thank you, Cari. I think just from talking to you, I've learned a lot. I mean, we probably all have some basic knowledge about the challenges of mental health services, and you add on the fact that these families may already be not in their permanent residence, and the the flexibility that need. So this mobile unit is a newer concept, right? And are there other mobile units out there?
There are some mobile healthcare services out there, but there are no, we are the first mobile healthcare provider specifically for domestic violence shelters in the state of California. And so there's no other program like us. Because shelters are typically in residential areas, they're a home just like any other house. We didn't want to drive a 38-foot recreational vehicle into the neighborhood. So our service delivery plan is to park. We've partnered with a few police departments, or in some cities, it's the CHP that provides us shore power through the day, so that there isn't that constant hum on the medical clinic as they're all working. And so the clinic parks at a different location each day. We rotate through our 3 counties, and we operate 6 days a week so that we can maximize our ability to see patients. And so the clinic parks at its designated location for the day. And then we have a passenger van, a hybrid Toyota Sienna, that our site coordinator drives to the shelter and transports the group of residents back to our clinic, and essentially acts as their Uber driver for the day. So they do a few pickups, and we anticipate being able to serve 15 patients on each clinic per day. And again, we operate 6 days a week, and we hope to be able to serve 8,640 patients that way per year.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Well, it's awesome that you serve them. It's not awesome that we have numbers of
True.
that magnitude. Earlier you mentioned something about the grant reimbursement. I think just for the benefit of everyone, they're not alone, even despite this endorsement basically by the government awarding them close to $7 million in grant over 2 years. It is on a reimbursement system, which is oftentimes how government grants work. So LendDonate, we found that we really partner very well with nonprofits, providing them the initial capital to start spending, and then the reimbursement, therefore the use of, I should say, the source of repayment is from the grants when the reimbursement's received. Maybe just as a final note for investors who are not familiar with this reimbursement system, how quickly do you get reimbursed?
Yeah, we get reimbursed 30 to 45 days. So we submit our expenditure reports at the end of each month, and their California OES, the Office of Emergency Services, our funders, they anticipate a 30 to 45 day return.
Great, good to know. And then maybe I'll just ask you an open-ended question before we part. What would be a takeaway you would like potential investors to have? You've shared so much details, and I know personally I've learned a lot from our conversations. What's maybe one takeaway you would like everyone to have?
Oh gosh, just one. Well, I think that this is a desperately needed service. As I've been connecting with shelters and speaking with their executive staff, they are floored with what we have put together, and the feedback that I've gotten is, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much! I can't believe someone's finally done this," and it's. I'm proud, but I'm also kind of saddened that for the last 20 years, shelters have continued to struggle. I kind of figured, well, of course they've figured this out, but I guess there just isn't the money for healthcare providers and shelters. And so I'm so grateful for this grant opportunity and that Cal OES even thought of this idea, and grateful to you all for hopefully helping us out in launching our little program that I hope will be statewide someday.
Obviously, yeah, that actually answers, I think, partly a question that's in the Q&A that someone asked if you can repeat the 3 counties you currently serve in, and then
Yeah.
the follow-up question is, where do you see yourself next in California?
Yeah. Our 3 counties are San Diego, Riverside, and Orange County. In talking with the unit chief of our grant division, this is a one-time funding opportunity. However, if they see benefit, they can choose to extend or create a new RFP for us to write for. And so they have a lot of faith in us, and we would like to see ourselves expanding to other counties as well, maybe slowly moving up the coast. I'm very familiar with a lot of domestic violence agencies in LA County. And so as I was doing this research for this grant, I had reached 12 out of the 20 shelters in LA County, and they all wanted our services. And so I said, okay, you've got to hold on. I've got to do these 3 counties first.
Well, mobile units have wheels, so
That's right. Yep.
I can see the demand. Thank you
We'll
so
get
much
more.
for spending time with us and sharing your insights. If we have more questions, from our attendees, we'll reach out to you, Cari. Thanks again.
Wonderful. Thanks, Vivian. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Good to have you. Okay, then I think I don't see additional questions, and we'll move on to our last presenters today. So presenting CHERP today are Rod Brooks, their COO, Jason Flejter, VP of Operations, Megan Anderson, VP of Admin and Workforce Development Program Manager. I think I got that right. Founded in 2015, CHERP has developed state-of-the-art solar technologies and will be manufacturing them in California. They are seeking $600,000 for working capital. The interest rate on this one is 10% per annum with a 3-year maturity. I love that we have the whole, not the whole team. This is actually just even a partial team. But who would like to kick us off? It looks like maybe Rod.
Vivian, I sure will. Thank you so much. Vivian, I just want to first start off by saying how much we appreciate how much the LendDonate team has really embraced CHERP's vision, our mission, the technology that we're focused on deploying, and especially the community-based approach to manufacturing solar modules. So just want to start by saying on behalf of all of us at CHERP, thank you for your support and partnership, your whole team support. If I can, let me just share my screen briefly. Here we are. So my name is Rod Brooks. I'm grateful to everyone who's on the call today, and very happy to be sharing with you a bit about CHERP SolarWorks. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and today we're going to be, sharing the 4 pillars of CHERP's mission, as well as our vision for the locally grown power network, which is our go-to-market strategy, if you will. We're also going to be speaking about the advanced solar module technology that we're deploying, and finally, how your investment will help us. We do look forward to answering any questions you have, and we hope that by the end of our presentation, you're as excited about our vision and technology as we are, as well as confident in our ability to execute the plan that we have, and hopefully inspired to support our efforts. So with that, let me turn it over to my colleague, Megan Anderson.
Thanks, Rod. So I think we're all familiar with the significant challenges that face not only our world, but our country today. I know I am, especially as a young person. We also know that are key things that we have to do to address these challenges if we want to maintain a livable world and healthy communities. So we need to stop global warming. We need to create sustainable living wage and middle class jobs. We need to stimulate our local economies, and we need to do everything I described above with a focus on justice and equity. So what I've just listed are also the pillars of CHERP's mission. And at CHERP, we believe that creating a solar manufacturing renaissance in America lies at the heart of solving the challenges that we face.
Thanks, Megan. And so consistent with that mission, our vision is to establish a locally grown power network consisting of solar module microfactories that are locally owned and operated by nonprofit organizations in disadvantaged communities across the country. Each microfactory will produce 100,000 advanced solar modules per year. That's enough for 6,000 households that mitigate 26,700 metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. Each microfactory, in addition, will create jobs and training opportunities, including especially for those individuals who typically face barriers to entering the workforce. Each microfactory will drive development in economically and environmentally disadvantaged communities through ancillary job creation, wage growth, and investment of local operating profits. And finally, each nonprofit microfactory will use the net operating income to significantly reduce the cost of energy for low and middle income families. And this is really a key part, providing them with energy savings that can be spent locally on food, education, and healthcare.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Flejter. I'm the VP of Operations. So through a license agreement with Ideal PV, CHERP can now produce and deploy the world's most advanced solar technology. But before we get into a brief overview of this exciting new technology, let's take a look at some newsworthy headlines that, for whatever reason, they just don't seem to make primetime news. You can see here that Amazon decommissioned solar panels on 47 of their distribution centers, which cost them nearly $1 million a month. Why? For fear of fire or a repeat of the Walmart incidents. You can notice here on the right that the firemen are huddled together. They can't approach that fire to extinguish it until they know for sure the power has been disconnected due to risk of electrocution. Perhaps some of you have heard of the Walmart fires. There's 7 distribution centers that unfortunately caught fire and some of them burned down. Tesla recently settled that lawsuit for an undisclosed amount. And you can see here, the picture on the left is an example of some of the extreme heat that these solar panels can exhibit when functioning improperly. On some instances, the temperature can exceed 700 degrees Celsius. So that's significantly very hot. And then on this bottom picture here, it was like 2.5 weeks ago, you can see a Target store in Northridge, California, endured its own solar fire. Why don't we hear about these significant safety events? Because there's an inherent safety issue with all conventional solar panels, and this multi-billion-dollar industry wants to keep it quiet. The issue is called reverse bias, or the generation of hotspots. While it's not widespread, clearly one fire is too many, and the Walmart scenario certainly convinced Amazon not to take that gamble. So here in this picture, you have a conventional 60-cell solar panel. Go back, please, Rod.
Yep, sure, sorry.
And you can see the junction box on the back side is very simplistic. It just has 3 diodes and a bunch of potting material, or basically glue. And I always like to use the analogy, it's like the old stylish brick phone. When cell phones first came out, it's basically a dumb analog phone. Our solar module is a 60-cell module, and you can see from the picture here, the biggest difference is that our junction box has an onboard computer that processes environmental effects in nanoseconds. This allows the module to turn on earlier in the day and turn off later in the evening, as well as capture all these scintillation effects that are happening in real time. It's like comparing our modules to the new iPhone 14 and should be considered a smart module. Our modules are about to cause a huge ripple within the solar industry with their unparalleled safety and efficiency features. We eliminate any potential hotspots, thus never catching fire. Then we have our first responder safe solar, which will allow these firemen to immediately put an axe through one and never risk the potential for electrocution. You can see here in this picture on the bottom that we also use quarter cell technology. It has several advantages, and this is just one of the patents we utilize. There's probably 6 different patents that unfortunately we just don't have the time to talk about, but there's some really exciting features on this. Our nanosecond processing power will allow us to capture significantly more energy throughout the course of the day. And most importantly, these are made in the most disadvantaged communities in America.
Jason, thanks for that. So in terms of our plan and how we're moving forward, taking a methodical approach, the first place we're bringing these modules to market is in Pomona, California, which is recognized as one of the most economically and environmentally disadvantaged cities in the state. In Pomona, we've created the world's first nonprofit solar module microfactory. So our immediate objectives then are to first initiate production at the microfactory. Second, to fulfill customer sales orders and install systems that have already been pre-ordered even before we've gone into production. And finally, beginning to replicate our model by consulting with organizations like Homeboy Industries that are interested in establishing their own microfactory. Very happy with that relationship. And again, they're very excited about moving forward with CHERP, consulting on that project. So to accomplish these objectives, we will need long-term permanent financing to cover essential working capital, as most startups do. In addition, we'll need short-term financing of the $800,000, which we're seeking through LendDonate, to fund immediate operations and startup expenses.
Perfect. Thank you, Rod. So there are many reasons to feel confident investing in CHERP. First, we've already received significant seed funding for our project from public sources, including a $2.1 million budget allocation from the state of California to establish the microfactory that you're seeing in the pictures on our slides. That came to us by an assemblyman who's actually in the district next to Pomona, but believes in cross-city collaboration. Second, our technology has been tested and validated, and as Jason had mentioned, is exceeding safety certification standards within the solar industry. For third, as Rod kind of mentioned, we've already secured 31 letters of intent for both residential and commercial solar systems. This represents pre-production sales of nearly $500,000 upon installation. Fourth, our leadership team and our advisory board have decades of relevant experience in our work, from solar science and manufacturing to nonprofit and community development. And finally, our technology and the feasibility of our deployment model have been recognized by key organizations, including the Department of Energy and LA County's Chief Sustainability Officer Task Force.
So in summary, by supporting CHERP, you're helping to achieve the 4 pillars of our mission, she mentioned. Specifically, you're helping us launch production in our flagship factory in Pomona, California. You're helping us fulfill initial sales orders and support replication of our model. The $800,000 that we're seeking here through Lendonate will be used for working capital that enables CHERP to purchase silicon cells for use in production this fall, in addition to cover wages of critical staff and to pay for essential microfactory overhead expenses. This financing bridges the gap between where we're at right now and the full financing that we need to go into initial production with all the materials and labor required for that. So again, thank you so much for your interest in CHERP and for being here today. We're happy to answer any questions in the time that we have now. And if you have any further questions, you can also reach out to us through Megan. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It's thorough and really exciting because we know that, I use shorthand state-of-the-art technology. I know that, of course, that's just 4 words that tries to capture a lot more information. And thanks for sharing, even scratching the surface to let us know what might be coming to our roofs. While maybe other questions may be coming in, let me just ask a little bit about, you mentioned the microfactory in Pomona. Maybe just a quick word to describe what constitutes a microfactory and where are other locations you have planned?
Great question. Jason, do you want to address that question?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So what we're trying to do is we're going into these disheartened, disadvantaged cities, and we're trying to repurpose buildings. So we worked with Pomona Unified School District, and they had a substantial building, and we took 7,200 square feet, and we were able to install a solar line that will produce 100,000 modules at full capacity. So we're working with core energy groups throughout the nation from Hawaii to Puerto Rico and everything in between. And each one of them has asked us, like what type of building they would need. And, so we're trying to show the world that you don't need a 250 or 500,000 square foot facility to start producing solar.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that having worked with other nonprofits, there's some concern, of course, like, we've all read the headlines, big company moves into a, this underserved community and disrupts them, supposedly providing jobs. But, in our conversation, I've learned that your method is very thoughtful with job training, is not trying to bring in thousands of people of workforce into a community where they're maybe not ready for something like that. So that's great. We have, let me see. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd add, Vivian, that like the key part of our replication model too is working with local nonprofits. So our idea is not to become a franchise, but to work with the structures that already exist in these communities, because number one, if our goal is to stimulate local economies, we don't want to siphon money out of them. And number two, we knew that like the nonprofits that exist in these areas are the ones that know their communities best. And we don't also want to come in as like some kind of savior. We want the communities to know and trust the organizations that are going to provide them services.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I know you're very sensitive to in more than one ways. We have a question, and I'm going to take this opportunity and generalize a little bit. The question is, does Lendonate have a sense of where the risk rating on this loan will land? So for those who might not be as familiar with our risk rating, for simplicity, we call them generally gold, silver, bronze to demonstrate the strength of the loan. It takes into consideration both the financial strength of the organization as well as any potential collateral that is attached to the loan. So for example, the first loan we heard from the school, the real estate is going to be, the loan is going to be real estate secured. In the case of CHERP, we're still, I think I don't have the definitive rating on it yet, potentially, just like the previous Healing to You organization, may receive a starfish rating. And I want to talk about the starfish rating because, you know, I feel that it is a culmination of the credit committee's discussion of sometimes we have organizations like CHERP, like Healing to You. We can clearly see there's great potential, but they don't fit into the classic credit underwriting model. So for example, Healing to You, it's a new organization, even though leadership has over 20 years of experience, and they have received over or close to $7 million of grant for a loan size that's substantially smaller. In the case of CHERP, we also see that, okay, the technology is there, leadership is strong, it feels like, you know, everything is done right, but we are no expert in solar technology. They also do not have the type of financial history that we can look at, great projections, but as you know, this is just plain, you know, lender talk, projections is projections. So what we've done, and you may have, for those who are very attentive, have noticed that CHERP has mentioned an $800,000 loan from Lendonate, while earlier I mentioned $600,000. Why? Because CHERP is committed to making this all work out to look to reduce or improve the credit profile as otherwise would be, meaning that they are bringing in their own supporters to come up with the first $200,000 of support, and lenders in that $200,000 will be subordinate to the senior lenders. So attendees here, I think most likely all of you here, most of you here are considering investing in the senior tier, $600,000, but also know that there are committed investors, supporters of them that are providing the subordinate piece of $200,000. Which is why there's a, you know, our landing page for this loan is not quite done yet. It's a little bit more involved, but we definitely will be sharing more details as that comes out. We are very proud to have a starfish category. Why starfish? Because if you also look at our logo, it's a starfish that is inspired by the starfish story. And the short version of that is every small action counts. And we want everybody to come together on the Lendonate platform, support the nonprofits as you see fit for yourself. So starfish is an indicator of, there's more information to it than the traditional credit underwriting would indicate, but we ask everyone to just pay extra attention of the impact that the loan can create.
Vivian, thanks for elaborating on that. And if I can just add one quick thing, I know that several of the individuals that are contributing to that junior loan position are on the call. So I want to take this opportunity just to thank them for participating with us. And also just to provide a little more information with regard to the repayment sources for this loan. Those include net operating income from module sales, which again, we do have several pre-sales already, and that's just kind of the beginning. As well, there are available manufacturing production tax credits that will be available to us as we go into production and those modules that we create or put into service. And finally, there are design build fees from nonprofit organizations, again, like Homeboy Industries, that we would receive from helping those organizations create their own microfactories. So those are some of the sources of funding that would repay the loan.
Just real quick too, those tax credits are coming from the Inflation Reduction Act. And because we are a nonprofit, they will reimburse us with a direct payment versus a tax credit, because we don't have the tax appetite as a nonprofit. So it would be a cash disbursement for that reimbursement.
Wonderful answer. And thanks for reminding me. I think I should emphasize, starfish rating does not mean the organization is weak or weaker by any means. It just means, like, for example, a simple example is Healing to You earlier. There are, on our website, we say that when we present a project on the website, these to qualify to be presented, they have to have 3 years of history. The organization itself does not, but as we can see, the government is awarding this, quote unquote, startup nonprofit with a close to $7 million grant. It does indicate that there is a support and that there is recognition for the depth of expertise they have. And similarly with CHERP, there's just nuances that we may put them as starfish, but it does not mean that we feel that somehow that they are lesser or weaker by any stretch of the imagination. We work with investors who are institutional partners, meaning that they oftentimes will look to us to say, okay, just so what is it, right? I'm not here just for impact. I'm really here for the rate of return. So we want to make sure that they understand how this adheres to or maybe slightly deviate from the standard credit underwriting. If there are no other questions, I think I see none. I want to thank the CHERP team for being here and sharing your insights and your expertise and your future plan. Again, I really look forward to seeing more of your products onto rooftops in California and hopefully beyond as well. Thanks again. So let's see. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
For everyone, to conclude our meeting, if you have more questions, just general questions about Lendonate, how we work, feel free to use the Q&A, continue to use the Q&A box, or send us emails. You can find a lot of the information on our website for the 2 loans already, and then CHERP will be forthcoming, as I said. For overall kind of the work that we do, I highly recommend interesting reading. 2023 Progress Report is on the top of our website. It talks about the type of organizations we have supported and we want to plan to support, and a little bit more about the starfish category, how much, how many loans we've supported in the past have the starfish category versus gold, silver, bronze. And then as of the data collected in 2022 to date, we've had, again, past performance is not indication of future results, have had no loan defaults. We do anticipate a very small loan default in the near term, and that would bring our default rate to less than 0.1%. So if you want to know more about how we assess, the risk, we're happy to have one-on-one conversations with each of you. Just use the Q&A box, put in your email address and say, I want to talk, and we'll reach out and schedule one-on-one meetings with you. Thank you for being such great participants. And I'll make sure I test including my camera next time before we start the call. But I think, seeing all the nonprofits is really the focus of our calls. Thanks again. Have a great rest of the day. And we'll see you on the next call. Oh, sorry, one more thing. If you found us on LinkedIn post or somewhere that is not, and you are not signed up for our newsletter yet, we would encourage you to do so. That's where we announce all new opportunities, as well as presentations like this. We will also have celebrations when nonprofits pay off and their progress. So it's a really kind of like a feel-good kind of newsletter. So sign up on our website and or reach out to us. We'll sign you up. All right. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We'll talk to you next time.